Welcome to Sipping Reality with Jill and
Megan.
How's everybody doing today?
We had a really hard time coming up with a topic tonight.
We did. It was brutal. We've been sitting here for an hour.
Literally.
And every time we ask, what do we want to talk about? Our minds go blank.
And then it turns to sex.
We have been talking all day long and we can't think of anything to talk about besides sex.
We had a lot of topics go through our mouths today.
Oh, wait.
And then all I can think about is sex when I say something like that. Why?
Like, yeah. Have you ever been 44 years old and felt like you were 12 all over again?
I have been 36 and felt like I'm 12. I haven't been 44 yet. Yeah.
Yes, right?
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes we feel like we're 12 years old. I think it's because we were both in really horrific marriages for like 14 years.
Well, and terrible family dynamics before that.
And yeah, just absolutely miserable. And we're finally happy.
Yeah.
And we're starting over. And we have this new life in front of us and we're happy. And it kind of feels like being a kid again.
I do feel like I'm a kid.
Yeah, it's like the whole world's in front of us and we're like ready to start this life. It's pretty exciting, actually.
I've really never felt this kind of excitement before.
No.
Like consistently.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, so anyways, we're apparently two single women just coming out of horrific marriages, and all we can think about is sex, and it's such an interesting topic.
I mean, not just having sex, but I mean, even though that's on our minds a lot, but like the topic of sex in general in like relation to society and stuff, I think that is on our mind a lot too, because we're just kind of noticing how taboo everything is and how taboo we have felt it was all this time ourselves personally. Like, really, there was a lot of shame around desires and things that we, liked, and there was a lot of shame all these years. And
sexual trauma and other people's sexual trauma, so then they're awkward about it, so you bring up the topic of sex, and then people sometimes get weird when you start talking about it, and we can't talk about it openly in a group of people, because if we do and somebody has sexual trauma, it's like we're always walking on eggshells around so much shame and guilt and trauma and all these things, instead of coming out and talking about it in a healthy way, not in an over-sexualized way, although sometimes that's fun too. Just being honest, keeping it real over here as we sip our tea.
I don't have any, actually.
I know Megan doesn't have any tea now.
I told her I didn't have anything to choke on, which in turn made me think of something else. So what is wrong with me?
Choking on my tea.
I don't have anything to choke on right now.
Oh my goodness.
God. There is something so wrong with me.
Okay. So, no, but seriously. So I wrote a blog post recently, and it hasn't posted yet, but it will sometime soon. Yeah, and it's just talking about this topic and how we were noticing earlier. Pictures that are more sexy. The more sexy the picture, the more sexually appealing the picture or video or post, we're noticing the more views and likes and hearts it gets, right?
Yep.
And yet, if I were to be out there in a crowd of people or at family dinner and just started openly talking about like the kinky fun I'm gonna have with my even husband,
or you were wearing a shirt that showed cleavage.
A lot of people show cleavage, though.
No, I mean, like, your boobs are out at that dinner table.
Well, maybe they shouldn't be out at a family
no
dinner table with children. I mean, there are boundaries.
No,
there should still be boundaries.
There's something really wrong with my brain right
now. We don't want to over-sexualize, because that's... Okay, so sexual trauma, you go in two different directions. You either become very ashamed and guilty, or you can become over-sexualized, right? And so there's those two, but there is this healthy medium place where we can be really open about our sexuality and feel completely comfortable with it and talking about it. And I can be comfortable with the fact that I'm a 44-year-old woman, mother of 5 children, and I enjoy having hours of kinky sex. Mm-hmm. And that's actually healthy and good.
Yeah.
Because when I was married, I didn't want sex anymore. And I didn't think I'd ever want another man to touch me ever again. And that was not healthy.
No.
There was something wrong with that.
Well, I did. But not with my husband.
Yeah.
I had a hard time with that.
But,
for a lot of reasons. We can get into that another time.
But you didn't. You were very faithful.
I was.
So despite desires, you remained extremely faithful. And that's admirable. So
yeah, well,
just want to put that in there.
I thank you.
Yeah,
for that.
Because you made it sound like, oh, you were just going off the rails, and you weren't.
I wasn't. No,
you weren't. But you had desires.
I at one point was willing to put all of my desires aside just to be a good mom and wife, and which led me to not having barely any sex with my husband, but I did that to be a better wife and mom and to put my stuff aside and my desires.
Well, that brings up a really important topic, which probably should be a whole nother podcast and not into this one. But when you're in an abusive marriage relationship situation, specifically with somebody like a narcissist, right? Like, and I'm not talking about somebody who's narcissistic, and maybe, but like, you know, all like full blown, like not coming back from this type narcissist, psychopath type person, right? And you're trauma bonded, and you know it's not good, but you can't leave, and you still think you love this person, and all of that. Best way to heal and grow and come out of it is to clean your side of the street.
Oh yeah, that is a whole topic.
Because we were actually thinking about, well, I wasn't. Megan was thinking about wanting to talk about this tonight, which is really interesting that this came up.
Well, I think it's a good thing to talk about this.
Well, this particular topic on narcissism is really important to talk about, I think, because it's something that we discovered not from any reading or video or therapist.
Just popped up the other day.
It just happened that this is what we did. Okay, so if you've listened to our podcast, Our Beginnings, we talk about how when we first met, we got like hyper religious, and our whole focus was on being moms and wives, and there was a really good thing to that. It was good. We were focused on ourselves and what was wrong with us and how we were failing as wives, and we chose to be the best wives and mothers we could be. And I learned how to make bread from scratch, and Megan started doing fresh milled flour, so I started doing fresh milled flour and learning the health benefits of it, and all these amazing things we started to do. And
I mean, I didn't even masturbate, which I don't think
for 3 whole
no, like for 5 years.
Was it 5 years?
Yeah, maybe once in a while.
No, I never did, not once.
Well, I
that
did.
Whole time.
Like I would do it once and be like, oh shit, what'd I do? Yeah.
I didn't even. I literally.
And I don't think that's particularly great, but that is what we did. So I knew. I wasn't doing anything like that.
We were, and when you clean your side of the street, and it doesn't mean you're perfect, but you're striving to be the best and do the best for those in your life.
And you know without a shadow of a doubt that you are making the best concerted effort that any human being could make.
Yeah, it becomes glaringly obvious that you are not the problem.
Yeah.
And when you can take yourself out of that equation and know that you are not the problem, all of a sudden there's this spotlight in your eyes on the other person. And you start to realize that no matter what you do or how good you get, this other person's still going to make you feel like you are nothing and treat you even possibly worse than they treated you before. And all of a sudden, it's not so scary to leave. It's like, gosh, I'm running myself to the ground. I actually ended up with fibromyalgia.
Yeah.
Because of it. It's like, if I stay in this, I'm not going to live. I'm not going to make it.
Yeah.
I've got nothing left.
Well, the thing I think why it makes it so glaringly obvious when you've swept your side of the street clean is because a lot of people who are abusive have narcissistic tendencies, and they're not growing, they're not changing, or they're a straight up narcissist. Because there are two paths there. They deflect, they blame, they use the things that you do to say, well, look at you. Anytime you try to call them out for their abusive behavior, they say, well, look at you. Look at what you just did. Oh, yeah, no, you think you're so great. You just took a nap. You think you clean all the time. You think you cook all the time. Look at you. Look at you. And when you know that it like when we put ourselves, especially I can speak for myself, when I put myself in the position where I knew I was doing all the right things, and like Jill said, not perfect, but I knew without a shadow of a doubt I was doing all the right things. When my ex would turn around and say, well, look at what you're doing, and I'm like, no, I don't do that anymore. That was like 6 years ago, bro.
Bro.
like for real.
You've been infected by your teenage son.
I know. I used to say dude. Now I say bro. Yeah, I said dude for my whole life.
I refuse. First time my children a year or two ago or whatever called me bro, I squashed that. So I don't say it that much around me.
Yeah, I say bro now sometimes, apparently. But seriously, he wasn't able to use that anymore, and so it really helped me put it in perspective, and like she said, put a spotlight on like, wow, this person is literally has been using these things.
Yeah, you see the deflections, like
to
there's
deflect
you see the manipulations, you see the like you start to see it so clearly, where before it was like, oh gosh, but I do that, and then because usually somebody who ends up being long term with this type of person,
it would trigger guilt.
They are very like guilty, insecure, empathetic people, and so you just
put the mic right in your face.
Yeah, you like moved the mic over. It was really
freaked
funny.
her out. So I watched her face as
I'm like sitting there talking.
Her mouth.
I was sitting there talking. All of a sudden, the mic's coming closer and closer.
I was watching your eyes. It was really funny.
What was I saying?
You were talking. Oh, I was gonna say the bro thing, but that's like 10 minutes ago.
It was just talking about.
Sorry, I got focused on the mic next to your mouth.
It was funny. It was funny. It really was. It's still really close. We need some video so you guys can see this interaction. Eventually,
we will. Actually, I am in the midst of setting up a sound studio at my house where we're gonna have visual audio. Nice little quaint spot with our teapot and our cups of tea.
Yes,
and we are literally going to be sipping reality in that studio. Quite literally on camera. It's going to be really weird. We might make really weird, uncomfortable faces for the first 100 episodes.
Who knows? We're just going to let it be because
we're
unfiltered. We're unedited. We don't edit ourselves. We don't filter ourselves. Right. And we're not really bothered by it. So, it is what it is. Yeah. Unfiltered and unbothered. That is us.
I will look uncomfortable on camera. That's fine.
That's fine. We don't mind. We're in our pajamas right now, actually.
Yeah. Maybe we could still do that.
Because it's really cold out.
At a visual audio setting.
And put our jammies on?
They're jammies and tea.
Oh my goodness. Jammies and tea. Friday night jammies and tea sessions. Yeah. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, I think so.
We should make some popcorn.
Wait, we just got off on two different subjects.
We did. We do that a lot.
Oh my god, but they were so important.
Well, sex and narcs.
Yeah. They both are important topics.
So they are. And, you know, I was going to circle back around to sex.
Well, keeping the street clean. Did we get our point across?
I think we did.
I think we did. You're right.
Yeah, so that's my greatest advice for, you know, okay. I just cut myself off.
Maybe I cut you off.
No, I actually cut myself off.
Okay.
It was pretty funny. I noticed I did it.
Mic in your mouth.
No, thank you. I'm on a lot of groups on Facebook for like narcissists, right? And narcissism. And what I notice is that there's a lot of women on these groups and men who are a lot like how I used to be, which is a victim. And yet in my victimhood, I use that to be very resentful and sometimes act in not great ways. Like say really awful things back to my narcissist, and they post a lot of conversations they have, like text convos and stuff, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, they both sound toxic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I used to sound like that. I'm not judging. I'm like, I that was me.
Yeah.
I was so toxic. And that's why I chose a narcissist, because I was toxic. There was something wrong with me. And until I... Yes.
Codependent.
Until I focused on what was wrong with me and was like, wow, I'm a really not a great wife.
I was a total victim, too. We both were.
Oh, yeah. So addicted to being a victim. I mean, it was really, really hard to come out of that. I'm still just coming out of that. If I want to be real honest, there's moments and I'm like, no, not going there.
I'm not a freaking victim anymore.
No, thank you. And I'm not a survivor, because that's still in that victim. Oh, you're not gonna like that. People don't like that when I say that. But I mean it. I'm not. Yes, I'm
not in a judgmental way either.
No,
certainly.
It's not judgy at all. I totally get why that's empowering for some people, but it keeps you in the trauma. Now I'm a survivor of the trauma. No, I want to leave the trauma behind. See you later. Bye.
Yeah, not
bye.
A victim of that anymore.
No, I am out of it. I'm not in it. It's something that happened, and I'm not denying it. I've actually gone back into it and changed how I see it, and have become the type of person that would never be in that situation again.
Never accept
and
that,
there are times where it doesn't matter who you are, you could be the victim of something. And I just want to say that, because I know some of you are probably like, yeah, but it has nothing to do with who I was that this happened to me. Yes, there are some traumas that happen that are like wrong place, wrong time, like child, like there's nothing you could have done to be a different person. But I'm talking about those things like choosing a narcissistic husband.
When we become adults. We're not talking about childhood trauma here.
No, absolutely not. We're talking about like making a conscious choice to marry a narcissist when I knew I was walking through that restaurant, because I didn't get married in a church, but walking through it, and I knew I was making the worst mistake of my life, and I did it anyways because I couldn't stop myself. Why couldn't I stop myself? There was something really wrong with me. And it took me a lot of years to see that I was part of the problem.
Yeah.
And when I saw that I was part of the problem, I it's the one thing that reading the Bible and becoming very religious really did save me in that way, because I focused on becoming a better person. I'm like, I knew that I could not continue to be a terrible wife and sit there and complain about what a terrible husband he was. Yep. And then 5 years later, there I was, so broken after working so hard to be a good husband, good wife, and he was still a terrible husband. And I was like, see ya.
And still blaming you for the stuff you stopped doing 5 years ago.
Yeah. Yep. Because he couldn't blame me for anything else.
I think that was the most insightful thing to become so glaringly obvious. I think that was it right there. It's like that they were blaming us for things that we had stopped doing 6 years prior. And we're like, oh, wow, like, I don't do that anymore. And they're still, like...
Because they had nothing new to blame us for.
And that was only a manipulative tactic to trigger guilt and blame because of our trauma. It is the way to control someone like us with the trauma that we have.
Yep.
Is to, if I can trigger this person's guilt and blame, they will shift the blame onto themselves and they will forget about the abuse I just did to them.
Yep.
And it is so genius. Honestly, it's such a genius manipulative tactic because you come at me because I've done something abusive and then I can deflect it on you, trigger your guilt and blame. Now you're focusing on you doing something wrong instead of me.
Yep.
And that is what's kept me all these years.
Mm-hmm.
All these years. And when I saw it in action the last time, a year and a half ago, a little over a year and a half ago now, that I asked for a separation and I could see that from the outside looking in, that tactic, and I was like, holy shit. It blew my mind. I'm like, wow. And I am not to blame anymore for this person's behavior, and I'm not taking it ever again, and I won't ever. Now that I see it in the light that I see it, it changed. It was a paradigm shift completely.
Well, and I have to say that not everybody that leaves a narcissistic abuser becomes discerning about the narcissist. Many of them do fall victim to another narcissist. Some are able to leave because other people in their life guilt and shame them into why they're staying, so they're able to leave, or give them a free ride to leave. It's not that hard, and it's like, okay, I'll just leave, or the narcissist leaves them. There's all different kinds of scenarios, but the scenario where you've cleaned your side of the street and now you're seeing it so clearly, and then you start to learn about narcissism and you learn the ins and outs and you learn these things, it becomes very hard to engage in a conversation with another narcissist and not see right away that there's something really off about the person.
Right.
Like, sometimes I get texts from men on groups or apps or whatever, and it takes, like, a few texts back and forth for them to say something weird, and I'm like, oh, okay, bye-bye. Mm-hmm. Like, no thank you.
Like, even saying, like, a comment that is something's meant to trigger, like, a guilt, or, like, oh, I need to prove to them that I'm this person that they... I don't know. I get weird.
Well, compliments too early, telling me something amazing about myself and they don't even know me. Like, that's sketchy. Crossing boundaries. Like, oh, I don't take phone calls when my kids are home, and then them trying to call me when they know my kids are home. Like, you're crossing boundaries. Mm-hmm. There's so many things, and one thing in and of itself doesn't make somebody a narcissist, but there's certain things, like, a lot of narcissists say just really weird things.
Yeah.
And there's different types of narcissists too, so you have to be aware of that. We're not, there's plenty of channels you can go on and learn all about the narcissist, but I don't hear I've never heard anyone share this topic before. It doesn't mean that they haven't, but I've never heard it in all the videos I've listened to, talking about the importance of cleaning your side of the street and how that can strengthen and transform you and create a healing that surpasses that relationship, that can go deeper into your childhood, to your core wounds, to wanting to truly change and heal your deepest wounds that led to you making decisions to be with these narcissists and to begin with.
For that long.
And stay and have 5 children with them.
Oh, God.
Right?
I love my children. I don't regret my children.
I absolutely love my boys. They're with their dad right now, and it's hard. It's hard. I need the time. I really do. I do a lot nonstop, and I really
more
need
than anybody that I've ever met, actually. Honestly, I don't know how you have kept it together.
I haven't kept it together. Well, that's how. But I'm still here.
No, and you're amazing.
I'm here, and doing better every day, and excited for life.
You could be a total crackpot.
Yeah, I probably should be.
You're not, though. I mean, you're kind of crazy in other ways, but they're cool ways.
In all the best ways.
All the best ways.
I'm crazy in all the best ways.
I think it's funny that we started saying our topic was going to be sex, and then we moved to what I wanted to talk about anyway.
Yes, that's so interesting, which is exactly how it should be, because I was like, I don't know if I can go into that topic right now. And then we started talking. I don't know. It pulled us right into it. We were supposed to talk about this tonight.
Yeah.
That's how things work. We ride the waves of the spiritual realm, and it leads us to where we're supposed to go. And I tried to resist it tonight. I was like, I don't want to talk about that. And it led us there anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said that's a serious topic. I kind of feel like being silly, and apparently we were supposed to be serious tonight.
Well, we were a little silly.
Well, I'm serious about sex too.
Put the mic in your mouth.
I'm really serious about sex too.
I am too. No, and it's important too to talk about, because it is such a hard topic to breach with a lot of people, and
most of us need healing around sex.
And we also know that we're gonna catch flack for talking about sex in our
so
podcasts.
Openly,
and we're prepared. We're prepared for that. And we really kind of want to be unapologetic about it, because, I mean, this is the human condition. This is...
You wouldn't exist if two people didn't have sex.
Truth.
Every human being on earth only exists because of sex.
Yeah.
And if you're an adult and have children, you've had sex. Well, if you're a child and have children too. I mean, anyone who has a child has had sex.
Yeah.
Like... Why can't we talk about it? And I'm not talking about in a crude, rated X way. I mean,
I think the person that I have felt most sexually connected to in my whole life is someone that sees all of my desires and still sees me as a person. And it does something to me. It changed me in some way, where I was like, wow, like, there's not something wrong with me. Like, these things can be explored in a healthy way, and, like, someone still respects me as, like, a woman, a mom, a friend. Like, it changed me. And, it...
Well, I started dating. I was, after I asked for a divorce, I didn't talk to any men for a year, and I hadn't talked to any men through my marriage. I had stayed faithful through all of it. And
I can attest that she did not want to have sex. She was like, never, ever again. I don't want anybody to touch me.
But even when I was younger and I've never had any infidelity my whole life. It's just not who I am. I have a monogamous heart. I don't know. Some of us do. We just are super monogamous. And I'm just one of those super monogamous people.
Although I've been dabbling a little bit in, not
like
poly, but what's the other one?
Open relationship.
What do they call that? An E&M. What is that first word there? Ethically non-monogamous.
Yes, ethically non-monogamous relationships.
Right.
But that's, yeah. But I'm not, see, even for me, I'm like monogamous to the extent where, like, if I'm dating someone and we're not exclusive, I still don't want to date more than one person. Like, I don't know. I'm just, like, even if they're dating someone else, well, I don't like that either. I don't know. It's just the way I was built. But anyways, no judgment if you weren't built the way I was. That's just the way I was built. So what was my point? That I was faithful in my marriage. Oh, so, and then I stayed single for a long time. And when I went to start dating, I got on Facebook dating, looking through dating profiles, and this very attractive man came up, and I'm reading his profile, and everything sounds good. I'm like, oh wow. And it was somebody who had liked my profile, right? And so I'm like, ooh, this man likes my profile. And then at the bottom of his bio, it says that he was into kink. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, you even told me.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. I don't know about that. But everything else, I was like,
it might be good for you, Megan, but not me.
But you know what I did? I stopped liking it. I stopped swiping so that he'd stay there, so his profile would stay there, and I sat on it for a day. And the next day, I went back and I read his profile again, and then I swiped right. And I was like, okay, I'll swipe right. Mm-hmm. I mean, I found him very attractive. Like I said, I liked the rest of his profile. Everything else, I was like, was great. So I swiped right. I don't know how long it took him. I don't remember. He sent me a message. And then I sent him a paragraph asking him all these questions. I was like, because I knew a little bit about kink from my friend Megan.
And I think the floodgates were open after that.
I knew a little bit at that point. I had always known some things about Megan, but not too much. But yeah, I knew a little bit more at this point. You had recently
met me for the first time.
I had recently met Megan for the first time. We shared about that on our other podcast, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
So yeah, and I became very, very intrigued, and I don't know, it was like, for the first time, I became okay with all that. Like, what's wrong with having excitement in the bedroom and enjoying two people enjoying each other? Nothing wrong with that. Having
good too.
More, yeah, like nothing wrong with that. Not judging that either. But what's wrong with two people enjoying something more than just vanilla sex in the bedroom in this wonderful way? I don't know. It just opened me up to this whole world. And so I just started learning about all these things, and I've learned so much. Definitely, again, for another podcast to talk about more in depth about that. I know we did our kinks and fetishes. We didn't really get the opportunity to psychoanalyze at all, as I'm leading into right now. And I could psychoanalyze a lot of it, but there's a lot of kinks and fetishes are trauma based, but a lot are really, I think, just healthy and fun ways to keep things exciting and connected within a relationship. And they're healthy, they're safe, I
have to say,
like, there's nothing wrong with it.
Through sex, I have really grown as a person, and I've learned boundaries, like new boundaries, things like I've learned what I like, what I don't like, and it makes me feel stronger placing boundaries for myself to protect myself, or just saying, like, finding out, like, I don't like this in my life, and so that's never going to happen again. There's just been a lot of growth through exploration, I guess I should say, and dating and relationships. And this is a good topic too, is
let's write it down.
Not wanting to be in a relationship because you don't think you're ready for a relationship.
Oh, that's such an important topic, Megan.
We could talk about it on another one. That's like a whole other...
Oh my gosh.
It's like a whole other thing. But like, I guess oh God, I could really get into it, and I probably shouldn't. Not now.
I know, it's hard because we really want to say so much about so many things, but no, not tonight.
No. That's like avoidant attachment. These are like attachment style conversation, like a whole discussion.
Oh yeah, we're so excited to get into some of this stuff. But I think for tonight, we got into plenty, and I'm going to make a note, and I look forward to the next one. Maybe we can get into it then.
Yeah, I think so. It's a good topic. Well, we love you all. And I'm really grateful that you stuck around for 34 minutes of total brain scatter discussion.
Unfiltered and unbothered. Have a good night.
Good night.